Welcome to the Veronica Edwards Show, where we have fun financial conversations that everyone listening can apply to their personal and professional life. I'm your host, Veronica Edwards, and I'm so excited to be back season 5 in 2025. You will continue to hear me say this season, we are 100% independent. My business, Balance Virtually LLC, is the inaugural sponsor this season. And also, if you guys didn't listen to the season 5 opening monologue, we're sharing that story of how we became independent. Unfortunately, we had to end season 4 early under Biz Radio, the former platform that we used due to Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina. And for those that don't know about Hurricane Helene, it was one of the worst land storms since Hurricane Katrina. So we took about a 4-month break, and we've been on now about 3 months by the time this show airs. So we are definitely blessed and thankful. And I definitely want to shout out the V team for listening on balancevirtually.com or on veronicaedwards.buzzsprout.com, as well as our new YouTube page that is now airing everything that you're seeing today. So definitely subscribe, like, do all the things to support the Veronica Edwards Show. But let's go ahead and jump into today's show. So today's guest that is joining us is Miss Taylor Tipton, a dedicated detail-oriented professional who's been mastering the world of accounting and small business management while balancing it all with a positive attitude and a love for learning. Taylor has obtained her associate's degree in accounting and finance at Blue Ridge Community College, where she graduated in spring 2023. Committed to advancing her career, Taylor started her bachelor's in accounting at Western Governors University in November 2024 with the goal of becoming a certified public accountant after acquiring her master's, which is on track to be completed April 2026. Taylor is not trying to sleep, y'all. She's also a QuickBooks and Excel certified and she's also QuickBooks and Excel certified and a proud member of the Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society. Wow, very impressed. So without further ado, I would like to introduce today's guest, one of my favorite accountants, Miss Taylor Tipton. Taylor, how are you?
Hello, and I'm happy to be here. I am doing well. How are you?
Thank you so much. For guys behind the scenes, we had so much technical difficulties. And just like I was reading on Taylor's bio, very patient, very positive the whole time. You're like, it's fine. It's going to be good. I'm like, I'm dying. Why is this not working? So thank you for coming on and your patience.
Oh, I'm super excited to be on. It's an honor to get to come on here with you.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, we always, Taylor, start off the show asking first-time guests like yourself who you are, where you're from, and what brought you to Western North Carolina working in a career in accounting.
Yes. So I was actually born in Florida, but then my family moved up to Western North Carolina before I was a year old. So I was pretty much raised in Hendersonville. And then about 3 years ago, we made the big move 30 minutes away to Brevard. And so actually the whole love for accounting really started. I was managing a restaurant and the owner asked me if I would help out their bookkeeper with some data entry. And I did. And I'm like, this is way more fun than managing a restaurant. And I get to do this from home. So that started me looking into going into the accounting career path, which has been great.
Oh, I love that because not to tell all your business, Taylor, but you are in your early to mid 20s and you aren't finding as many young people wanting to get a career in accounting. So when we met through a client of mine's and you were just so eager to learn, I was like, yes, you're a sponge and you were just so open and willing to get the work done and all that fun stuff. Because with accounting, sometimes you just have to keep rolling. You can't stop. You can't be interrupted. And, once you get that itch, you just keep going. And I saw that you're a natural.
Oh, yes. Yep. Once you've started getting into the books and doing all of the entries and checking things, you can't stop.
You can't stop. So that leads us to how we met via Southern Quality Company, where I've been providing fractional CFO services probably since the beginning of, probably the beginning of October. I started working with Southern Quality located, would we say Southern Quality is Hendersonville, Brevard, Mills River?
The main office is in Brevard, and then they opened up a smaller satellite office in Hendersonville last year.
Nice, nice. So I would love if you can give a little spill on Southern Quality, what services they provide, how they can reach out if they wanted to utilize those services in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, so Southern Quality Company focuses on roofing and gutters. And so I know a lot of people need assistance with that, especially after the hurricane and getting everything nice and dry inside. And so if anyone needs any help with any roofing or gutter solutions, give us a call at 828-877-2929, or you can go to southernquality.com and fill out a form.
And Taylor, you've been with Southern Quality now, is it 3 years?
2.5, almost three. It'll be three in August.
Wow. So Taylor, let me ask you, because I always make it a little bit about me. So when you first met me, Taylor, because Taylor and I was working together virtually, me and Taylor still have not physically met yet. So we keep
No.
saying that we have to get together, but we were meeting Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday for at least 2.5 months trying to get the books closed. And we had some back stuff that we had to do. We got it all cleaned up. Like a lot of companies, sometimes their QuickBooks gets a little behind. But what was your first impression of me, Taylor? What did you think when I came in with the big
Oh,
glasses and all these great ideas?
I say I was super excited because you had all of the ideas and all of the answers to the little tiny things where it's one, you just wonder, am I doing this correctly? And I was really great to have your support all of the time to be like, don't worry, you can fix it. There's never anything in here you can do that you can't fix. And I would say
Exactly.
it's made it a lot easier to be able to go through all of that, knowing that I can't screw it up too bad. And so now that
Mm-mm.
I know that and that I keep working on it, I've been very grateful for all of your help. I don't think we would have gotten this far without you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you guys, making that investment because it was an investment for us to get that cleaned up. And it was just, and it still is an honor to work with you because you're so hardworking. And I'll say I'm like, Taylor, what about this? And before I've even asked, you're like, oh, I did that last week. Oh, I've already thought about this. And then you're taking it to the next level where you're trying to get extended vendor terms and all these things that I think a lot of times people take for granted that somebody's not always just telling you what to do in a small business. You have to have that gumption to want to just do it. And so that's what I appreciate about you. And I'm always pushing Taylor, like, you can start your own business. Not trying to steal her away from Southern Quality yet, but you
It
can
is a million.
definitely, yes, especially because it's construction. And we've talked about that recently with that being a niche. So if
Yeah.
anybody is listening, Taylor is accepting some consulting clients on the side if it's for the right price. I'm her manager, and she has the time for it. So I definitely will support you in that. But I definitely want to get back to you. And one of the other things that I really admire most about you is your drive to keep learning and advancing. So, what inspired that love for learning and this path to being towards a CPA? Because you're on a very accelerated route where you just graduated '03 with your associates. 3 years after that, you're going to have a master's and be on your way to getting your CPA. So, where did all that come from? That drive to want to do this so quickly?
Yeah. So once I decided I wanted to go into accounting and looked at all of the different career paths in there, and I'm like, well, CPA is where it's at. That's where I need to achieve and where I need to go as a goal. And so, really, what helped the most was just setting that as my goal and knowing, well, this is the steps I need to take. I need to get to my master's degree. I will need to study for the CPA exam. I need to study under a CPA. And then I kind of just set a time frame on that. And so many people say, if you take a gap year, you're never going to go back to school. See, that's not necessarily true. If you
Mhm.
know that you will go back, sometimes you need that gap year. You need that
Mhm.
little bit of time for yourself and to focus on other things and make sure you're on the right path. And my gap year definitely reinforced that I'm on the right path and that this is the way I want to go.
Absolutely. So, Taylor, when you graduated high school, did you take that gap, then go back to school? Did you go to school and then you stopped? How did that work for you?
Yeah, so actually, when I graduated high school, I wanted to be a marine biologist. And I'm like, well, I guess we got to think about this because I don't really like the beach.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe we got to reconsider that a little bit. And so that is when I took some time off and was managing the restaurant. And then I met, while deciding, I was like, oh, I could manage a restaurant. And I met the accountant and I'm like, oh, no, this is the right path for me, actually. And there's a lot of different choices in this career field. And it needs more younger people that are coming into it to become CPAs as more are getting of the retirement age. So
Mhm.
it just seemed like the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, they always have articles in like the AICPA talking about how being a CPA has become a dying profession. Because if you're a lawyer, you have to pass the bar to be a lawyer. But to be an accountant, you don't have to have a CPA. And technically, it is harder to pass the CPA exam than the bar. I always tell people that, not that it's easy to be a lawyer, but as Taylor mentioned, she has to have so many credit hours. So you typically have to have a master's. You have to get 3 recommendations from other CPAs. You have to have ethics. You have to pass 4 sections of a test with a certain score in a certain period of time. So I think I just celebrated 10 years being a CPA last year, and I'm going to be 43 years old. So I'm very proud of you that you are pushing yourself. And that's where I was just wondering, when you were younger, were you always that person that's like, I want to read books or I want to study, or you always wanted to be the best? Because you could just tell you're a sponge, and it's so refreshing because you don't see that as much anymore, especially your age group. Because what do you consider? I'm a millennial. So,
Um, I'm gonna say I think because I was born in '99, so I'm like right on the
oh,
cusp of all of
baby.
those. But I
Baby.
generally, a lot of my friends do fall into the 50 to 60 age category for the most part, actually.
I do have a lot of older friends, so you learn a lot. You learn a
Yeah.
lot from those folks in those areas. And especially when you're in accounting, I feel like you meet a lot of people and you're going to deal with people of all ages. I feel like as an accountant, you learn to be like a therapist. You have to know how to listen. You have to know the right questions. We talk about forensic accounting. You got to have to be like a
Yes.
detective. You got to know some law stuff. Like, I feel like when I was getting my master's, the professor always told me, you can do everybody else's job in a business, but not many people can do an accountant's job. It's very specific, but the accountant knows how the whole business is ran, because you have to in order to reconcile the books and make sure that you're accounting for everything. So again, kudos to you, Taylor, for kind of going in a field that could be a little intimidating, but the fact that you are like, nope, I'm going to work full time. I'm in this program. And that's why I definitely want to talk about some tips that you might have for those that are watching and listening. Because one thing about us accountants, we're not trying to pay for a lot of stuff either. So Taylor mentioned, like, I'm basically have scholarships and grants. So I want us to dive into that. So I would love if you can share, how you enrolled in this accelerated program and got the different scholarships and grants that are available, because you're technically a non-traditional student, meaning you're 25 or older, you're not living on campus. And there's a lot of people that want to go back to school and they just don't know how. So I would love if you can share how to get back into school, especially in an accelerated program.
Yeah, definitely. And so one of the advantages actually after the pandemic is that a lot of colleges completely revamped their online programs because they had to,
They
which
had
means that
to.
now you can do college from anywhere. I actually do most of it from bedrooms and kitchen counters, or I'll go to the library and sit in there for a while. And so it's really shifted from you have to sit in class and that awkwardness of, wow, I'm a decade older than these other people that are sitting in here in this classroom, because
Mhm.
now you can take the classes all online. And so I've done 2 different paths basically with Blue Ridge Community College. It was with strict deadlines, and I was constantly meeting with teachers. And that was really great, especially to keep me motivated moving
Mhm.
forward. And now at Western Governors University, it's the accelerated path. So they basically, I look at my list of classes I need to get my degree. I hand pick out which ones I want to take next, and I just take that one class from start to finish, call my teachers as I need help with anything, and I have a school mentor, and it's completely online. I do all my tests online, which has been
Love
great.
that.
And then as far as scholarships go, as the non-traditional student, a lot of people think that, you have to get your scholarship right out of college or right out of high school to get into college. And a lot of scholarships are that way. They're for graduating seniors in high school. But then there's thousands of scholarships that people don't claim every year. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars that
Hmm.
are just sitting out there and no one's getting the money because they don't apply. They don't know they're there. And so a quick search online for scholarships overall always helps. And then what I did is actually look at community foundations that are the local.
Mm. Talk about that. Talk about what's a community foundation and how you even thought to
Yes.
do that.
So it's actually the one I have one of my scholarships through is the Henderson County Community Foundation. And basically, they accept donations from people that are wanting to donate to specific causes, but don't know how to get it to people. And so a bunch of people go to them and say, I want to give this money. And they'll put specifications. They'll say they must live in this county or they must be looking for an accounting degree. And they'll put
Mm.
specifications on that. You just read through the lists on their websites and see what can apply. And the advantage is a lot of colleges too have very similar essay questions. And so you can just tailor it to that specific foundation before they review it. And
Hmm.
this is the time too, where, if you've had troubles in your life or if you've overcome hurdles, this is the time to talk about it. Even if you're like, it's embarrassing. I don't want someone where I'm going to school to know all of this about my history. But that's the time to let the obstacles you've overcome really shine and show, I have faced hardships and this is what I did to overcome it. And you giving me a scholarship will help me continue going to school and better myself as a person.
Rounds of applause, Taylor, because I would get so frustrated when I was that traditional student. I didn't know where to look and I never could get any scholarships. And I'm like, I know I'm smart and all this stuff, but I didn't know to tell the story. I didn't know to even think. I didn't know what a community foundation was 20 years ago. And now working with a lot of nonprofits, I know that. And I think it did help that you worked for a little bit. So you got exposed to
Yeah.
these different organizations that you never would have known about if you would have went straight from high school into college. So I'm so glad that you mentioned that because I'm familiar with community foundations for nonprofits specific to a mission, if it's for kids or if it's for homelessness. But it's good to know that these community foundations also have scholarships.
And even if they don't offer specific scholarships, going to community foundations and local chambers and just saying, what scholarships do you know about? Usually they can at least provide information to say, oh, well, I know that this specific place does a lot of scholarships for people going into accounting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think just asking everyone even if it's a little awkward, hey, do you know of any scholarships around? It seems like a weird question, but a lot of people know about these random ones that you would never hear about otherwise.
Yeah. And, I think that's where you have to advocate for yourself. You have to go out there, you have to network, you have to Google, you have to go to some of these other nonprofits. As accountants, I don't know about you, Taylor, I have no shame. I say I have no shame on begging. I ask people, and some people are like, it's not begging. I'm like, I'm very inquisitive, meaning I'm asking a lot of questions. I'm going to Goodwill, like, oh, my husband works at Goodwill. Let me ask Goodwill if I know they give money to nonprofits. Let me see if they have any scholarships for this. I think about it all the time for my son who's in a learning center, which is technically not public school. It's technically not a private school. So we homeschool. So there's not a lot of traditional funding through the state. But I've been thinking about that. Like, I know I can get me a grant for my son who's of color that has a learning disability, but it's really he's busy. He's busy. Like he's like how we were growing up, but now they just don't tailor school for kids anymore if they have ADHD and dyslexia and all that fun stuff. So I'm so glad that you shared that. And in the Western North Carolina area, you mentioned with Henderson County, that foundation. Is there any other scholarships or databases or any resources that you would recommend or that you found was helpful during your path of just figuring out what colleges to go to, what programs? Because again, this accelerated program I'm impressed with because a lot of accelerated programs are very pricey. Like they'll double what a traditional college price is. And it seems like you were able to get it almost 100% paid for.
Yeah. And so, as far as getting that paid for, which was really great, a lot of it actually comes from the schools themselves too. And so, how
Good
I
point.
graduated from Blue Ridge Community College without any debt was they actually were providing free college if you were under a certain income amount. And
What?
so they provided a large portion of scholarships. And then I was able to even get other scholarships that helped cover me being able to take time off to go and take my exams for a day
What?
instead of having to take an unpaid day. I could call the scholarships to help cover that. And that was from the NCACPA Foundation, actually, that helped with
I'm
that
a
one.
member of the
And so
NCACPA. Yes.
just,
I
and
love them.
then just looking up specifics. That's the way to find it. So if you're going to school for accounting or for science, you need to put in accounting scholarships that are
Mm-hmm.
available. And then
I
I
love
found Western Governors University online. Actually, I did a lot of studying, and a lot of colleges would not let me do full time online.
Hmm.
And so I picked Western Governors University because they do a per semester fee. And then however many classes I finish in that semester, whether it's just the normal amount of credit hours or double, that
Hmm.
does not change the cost. And so that allows me to move through and be motivated to move through it faster because it's cheaper the faster I get it done.
Yeah. And I like the fact that you can do it semester by semester. You can plan that all out. It's on your own pace. That's outstanding. Well, Taylor, I would love for you to come back and continue to tell us about your journey. And
Yeah.
hopefully, the next time that you talk to us, you'll be working on your master's by that point and give us
Yep.
some expert tips. Also, I want to dig into some of the construction niche things that you've learned over time working with Southern Quality. That's a conversation we've had. There's a lot of construction folks, especially in Western North Carolina, post Hurricane Helene. So I think that your expert advice would help a lot of folks. But I just want to thank you so much, Taylor, for you being yourself and just being a ray of sunshine. I consider Taylor one of my mentees. I hope you consider me a mentor and a friend.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just been a breath of fresh air working with you and getting to know you. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day. Taylor also was affected by the wildfires. So this beautiful background, she's at a friend's house recording with us. I was like, we can reschedule. You were like, nope, she actually has a better background. I'm going to do it. So again, like making lemonade from the lemons. And I appreciate that. And I also want to thank the listeners for tuning in to the Veronica Edwards Show. You can listen to all prior shows at veronicaedwards.buzzsprout.com or balancevirtually.com. And now you can also see us on YouTube on the Veronica Edwards Show page. So please subscribe. And until next time, stay balanced and financially savvy.